Hey guys, Johnny Disc Golf here with Ask Upper Park episode 3. Now, for the first two episodes, we've had a cavalcade of stars. This week, we are focusing on just one person. That's the man, the myth, the legend, the 2018 world champion, Mr. Gregg Barsby. How you doing, buddy?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm back at my house in San Francisco for like 13 hours before going up to Sacramento. It's a little gray. Where are you at, though? Because I imagine you're not going to be going to U.S. Women's, right?
I will be at U.S. Women's.
Oh,
Matter of
awesome.
fact, uh, right now I'm down in Watsonville. I'm gonna be getting in a couple of rounds at Daylaw, kind of getting
Mm.
some prep for Masters in a couple of weeks. So I'm taking this weekend off. Gonna go volunteer a little bit and just hang out and check out U.S. Women's. Should be fun.
Yeah, and it's kind of in your neck of the woods, right? Because I know you as like a Grass Valley, Condon, Penn, that whole area. What's it like, a major coming back to your neck of the woods?
It's really cool. I know that Jenny and Final Nine have worked really hard to make this event happen, and Auburn is one of my favorite local courses. So I'm really excited to see the top ladies in the sport try to tackle Auburn, and it's looking pretty tough. I played it the other day. It should be a fun week. I think it's just awesome though. It's nice to see some of the tournaments go back to the woods. It's a good mix of courses for the ladies, so
Yeah, you mentioned that it's going to be cool to see the tour and some of the golf go back into the woods, in the trees. But last week when we just played the OTB Open, which was maybe the polar opposite of that, wide open golf, some technicality in the shots, but for the most part, just a big bomber course. What was your experience last week?
Phew, my arm is feeling it today. Let me tell you. They did a great job. OTB and Thousand Rated Productions put on an awesome show for everybody, and it was really really great to have all the fans out and
Hmm.
just seeing a lot of the touring players kind of in my home turf. It's pretty rare that we get tournaments that are that close to home. So
Hmm.
it was cool. I was definitely feeling the love from all the fans, and it's just great to have spectators again. I think a few of the holes were really, really tough and geared towards the longest throwers in the sport.
Hmm.
So I would have liked to see a few changes with the course, but overall, it was a great event, and I'll definitely come back.
Yeah, you mentioned having spectators back. That was maybe my favorite part of the weekend. Tons of my friends are out there, but just the gallery and the spectators, it was palpable. And you yourself, you have like the Barsbarians. You maybe have some of the best fans in disc golf. Like they give it up for you maybe more than anyone. What's it like, feeling so supported out there on the course?
It's just awesome. I mean, I don't know what to say a lot of times. I think it's just a lot of years of being on the scene, right? I've
Hmm.
been playing for over 25 years. So I've met so many of these guys as I came up in the sport, coming to their hometowns and playing the tournaments through the years and just meeting everybody for so long. And now that I'm still at it, you've got all these people that I've met through the years and just, all the good memories. So it's pretty special, especially back home. Stockton's always treated me well. I love playing in the Central Valley. I do love playing in the woods, probably a little more, but I was just happy to be at home and great to see all the smiling faces. People were genuinely stoked to be out there watching great golf this week, which was cool.
Dude, totally agree. Like the between the little VIP viewing area on 12, 15, like 14 right over there, and then just like everybody lined up on hole one. It was like nuts. The only gallery I've felt that was like that is some years ago when Macbeth threw 18 under at the toboggan. I was there, and that's like this crowd rivaled how Riley and rowdy those Michigan fans are. Let me ask you, what scene would you say is like the best or the most rowdy fans, like the best fan experience from a player's perspective?
Whew.
And maybe
I don't
not the
know if
best, but
I don't
just
know if I
jumps out
could.
to you.
Right. Well, I mean, obviously the Finns. Going over to Finland, those people just are disc golf crazy.
Hmm.
That was definitely a highlight. playing in front of the European Open crowd was something else, you know, with a couple thousand, 3,000 people. Um, you know, Ohio has a really good scene. You know, I remember playing
Mm,
Brent Hambrick many years ago, and that was the first time I played in front of 500 people. You know, and I was just kind of blown away with all of the people on the dam watching the
yeah.
finals. That one's really good, and obviously Maple Hill. You know, I think Maple Hill's got a real special place in a lot of people's hearts, and they have
Hmm.
a great crowd. So those would be my top three. Obviously, minus the World Championship in Vermont that I won. That was pretty special as well. The crowd
Yeah.
was going nuts.
Yeah, that was
They got
that
good
was
beer.
yeah, between the good beer up in Vermont and like the legion of people to the left of 18's fairway on that final
Yeah.
round, that was one of the most special moments I've even been a part of. So I can't even imagine it from the lens of, I don't know, the person that won.
Yeah, it was pretty sweet. I've watched that video a couple times. I watched it with my sister and my parents, and like seeing people jump up in the air. I never thought that I would see somebody like stoked, jumped up in the air, like so happy to see a disc land in bounds. But you know,
Hmm.
it's pretty cool. But Maple
Oh man.
Hill, Ohio, and then Finland. But man, you know, disc golf's pretty big in California now too. It's just tougher to get the land out here and to get some of these bigger courses. So it was
Hmm.
nice to be able to have a spot like Swenson this weekend where it could sustain that many people coming out.
No, totally. And frankly, it feels like one of the larger changes to like the pro disc golf scene over the past, you know, 15 years or so is a lot of those major tournaments shifting towards facilities geared towards big crowds and, parking lots to facilitate all that and a clubhouse that the media can set their stuff in. You've been on tour for a long time. What, from your perspective, is some of the biggest changes, at these big events from, I'm thinking 2008, 2009, when you first started really hitting the road hard?
Oh, I mean, obviously disc golf's volunteer based, so I think that since there's more people now, more people want to volunteer and be part of the experience, which
Hmm.
has really helped. I think the level of events start to go up and up and up, just because there's more volunteer work now, more things can get done. Courses look better than ever. I think that's
Hmm.
probably the best part of touring is I get to play all these courses that are in amazing shape, and it's that 2 weeks of the year the courses never look better.
Hmm.
So you know, shout out to all the volunteers that just make some of these events happen. Obviously more tournament directors and you know, guys like Jeff Spring and you know Nate Heinold, who really work their tail off to put on these huge events, but then having the staff to be able to run them.
I want to talk about even before 2008, 1998, the Sierra Shootout. What do you remember from that event?
Oh, Sierra Shootout 98. Oh, not much.
The reason I look back is that is the first event on your PDGA record.
Okay. 98 Shootout, huh? I think I played. Did I play novice or was it juniors?
It was juniors.
Okay, so I played the 97 shootout in novice. I don't think I didn't have PDGA, but I did play it in
Oh,
novice.
wow. Okay.
But 98 shootout, was that the one that Miles beat me by a stroke? I think I was heart. I, I think I was heartbroken. I'm pretty sure that I never have wanted to work harder. I think I was like 11 years old. I think Miles beat me by one, and it really tore me up because it was on my home court.
Oh,
So it came down late. I do remember the last hole. I had a spit out on the last hole.
no.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, so that's actually funny. Miles, I saw Miles this weekend, and I didn't really realize that like you and him kind of came up at the exact same time, and were like kind of those two NorCal shooters, right, of that era. Were you expecting to be like battling with him for till now?
For sure. You know, Miles didn't have the opportunity to tour like I did. he chose to go and get a job and work and live in Santa Cruz, which is cool. So we just kind of took different paths more than even, you know, Doss is 2 years older than we are, and he
Mm.
was always a step up in the divisions. So I
Mm-hmm.
never really got to play with Nate when I was
Mm.
young, until I had went into the open division at like 15 or 16. So Miles was really the kid that drove me to want to play good disc golf, because I knew he was practicing. That was kind of, you know, we lived 4 hours apart, but we both knew we were practicing really hard to try to beat the guy the next week. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I owe a lot of my success and just tenacity to Miles, because he was something else. I consider him like Will Shoestrick before Will Shoestrick, like the really long reach back, you know, the absolute power. I mean, this
Mm-hmm.
is when T-Bird and 7 speeds were the fastest discs.
Yeah.
So yeah, I owe a lot to Miles. And you know, he's doing good now. He's a dad, and here I am still on the disc golf tour. Right? It's funny. We
Yeah.
we have good. So um, yeah, I owe a lot to him. We battled it out for years. I had his number for a while. He had my number, and then he ended up getting Rookie of the Year 2003.
Wow.
Um, yeah, I mean Miles was a stud,
Yeah.
no doubt.
Yeah, and 2003 to me stands out in your career as well. Looking through the PDGA season, kind of season by season, 2003 is the year you really started to play a lot of those open events locally. You know, King of the Lake, Gold Pan Open, you know, Stafford Lake Pro Am. I think that was one of them in that era. And then flash forward to 2008, you got second at a major, the Players Cup. So talk me through maybe that journey from, like, you know, getting your feet wet at all these local events to just a serious contender on the national level.
Well, I'm gonna guess that you meant to say 2006, because I also got second place at the Players Cup in
I
2006.
did, I did, I did. That's a clerical error on this. That eight, that's not even an eight. That's a six.
Um, yeah, so I got second in 2006 and eight. I think that we've always had really good talent in Northern California. We've been really blessed with great players, even prior to, you know, now I think there's a lot of information for players to go and learn from, especially
Mm-hmm.
on YouTube, and just, you know, there's information available. Back then, if you didn't have a good guy in your town or a few good players or travel to go and play people, you know, it was hard to develop your skills. So I was really fortunate growing up in NorCal, because there's so many good players. um, it's always tough for me to go out and win a local league or
Mm-hmm.
the weekly game,
Yeah.
because the guys are just fire. So I think that helped boost me in a sense. I was able to know that I was never going to be handed, you know, a win. I was always going to have to work for it. So once I started playing bigger events out of state, that helped for sure.
Yeah. And really, I almost think of, and please correct me if I'm wrong because I might have a skewed perspective on this. Um, I kind of
Okay.
associate you, Yuli, and Nico kind of in a similar class of the touring pros, in that you're all sneaky young. Like, all three of you guys are right in the prime of your disc golf careers, but it feels like you've been in the scene, I mean, obviously from far before I was ever around. Um, have you been kind of battling with those three, and who else maybe if not them?
Um, I'm pretty sure that those guys went open in 2008. So I've been
Okay.
playing pro, maybe it was 6 or 8. I've been playing pro since '03. So
Mm-hmm.
they kind of came on later,
Okay.
about 5 years. So I had already pretty much well established myself. But one thing that I will say is that nobody has toured harder than Nico and Yuli in the 12, 13 years since then. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I saw Yuli everywhere. I'm pretty sure he like ran his Honda. I remember this old Honda he was driving. I'm pretty sure he ran that thing into the ground. He rewrote it until the wheels fell off. He was everywhere. And same with Nico. He was everywhere. I mean, these guys were just at every tournament. So um I don't know if I ever had a rivalry with either of those guys. A healthy competitive relationship. I think once I started playing open, you know, Doss was a really really strong contender. I kind of felt more like Nate and I had a little rivalry. Um,
Mm.
and by little I mean local events. Once Nate won his worlds in 2005, he just went blastoid, and his game went from here to here.
Yeah.
I don't believe in A tier before he won the world title. And then he just went boop, 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 and started playing amazing. So those years were it's so hard to beat Nate. He's so consistent. I think, and I think Macbeth, Nico, maybe Nico went pro in 06 or 07. I'd have to look, but I know Macbeth and Ulibarri came up at the same time, and Nico was right in there. And I think those three have really kind of held it down for that class. I think I consider myself a little bit more older school than those dudes,
Sure.
but I appreciate you believing that we're the same age because I'm a couple years older than they are.
Let's back off that a little bit. I want to go to something a little lighter, something maybe closer to today. I'd like to know, what is your favorite course to play? And then side question, favorite course to be at? Like just the energy there. It could be the same, it could be different. For me, those two answers are probably different. But where do you lie on that?
Oh, favorite course to play. Oh, man, there's so many good ones. And now, before I answer this, I do want to say that I haven't been able to spend enough time in Estonia because
Okay.
some of the courses over in Estonia were phenomenal. I loved Korvama. There's just some really really great places over there, and in Finland as well. But that being said, I think my answer is the same, and that's Maple Hill.
Mm.
Maple Hill is just so much fun to play. It tests all sides of your game. You got to have some power. You got to have some finesse. Full well-rounded game there. And then, when you get off the course, you've got the pro shop there. They've got the game room upstairs. You can go hang out, play pool, you can play some cards later on in the evening. Just a just a good vibe out there. You
Yeah.
know. So obviously, again, I'm biased to Green Mountain, but I'm gonna go with Maple Hill.
No, it's a good choice, and frankly, it's been a common theme when I ask that question, that a lot of people are answering that same. It's tends to be either Maple Hill or Milo McIver, which it shouldn't be shocking.
Yeah, Milo. That place is unbelievable.
Yeah. No, I know. I mean, I think honestly though, I feel you with Maple Hill, but I would not say that for myself simply because especially from the golds, like I don't throw far enough to like really enjoy myself shooting +7 on the golds out there. You know what I mean? If you throw good,
Uh,
hard, firm, long shots, it is fun. But getting chewed up on 6 and 7 back to back is no bueno.
oh yeah, those holes will kill you. 7 has been notoriously the one of the toughest holes for me out there. It's such a
Hmm.
tough hole. 6, I think I've been really fortunate on hole 6. I've got that
Hmm.
good sidearm, and I've
Yeah.
snuck through those trees more times than I probably should have. So.
um, well, you are a man who likes a good CE plastic, a good old Eagle or Firebird or something like that. My question is, what is not necessarily maybe the most valuable disc that you have, or what is like the prized pearl of your collection that maybe you are throwing it, maybe you'd never throw it in a million years? Do you have something that just like is just beautiful?
I do, and I just splashed in the water there on 17 this week. I really hope I get it back. It's the stained glass eagle
Oh,
from Chris Cashon, who runs the Innova only disc golf auctions. He gave me that. But anything old and I guess 11 time
mm-hmm.
or champion edition eagles, those are my creme de la creme. For a lot of the new players that don't know, I spent 9 years on Team Discraft. That was from my rookie year, 2003. I went on Team Discraft on Halloween, and
Mm.
then I left the team November 2011. So when I left the team and I could throw an open bag, I was like, oh yeah, I used to throw the eagle. And as soon as I got the eagle in my hand, it was like going home.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, okay, I know what I can do with this. So I would say it's my gem just because I can throw it forehand, backhand. I can do just a ton of stuff with it. I could probably play a lot of courses besides maybe stuff on the pro tour with just an eagle.
Yeah. So good news for you. I saw that thing come. Unless did you throw it back in the water because it got found at like first round of the
Yes.
tournament or something like that.
Yes. So I splashed it first round of the event. I lost it in practice. And then 2 throws later, I splashed it again. Believe me, I'm not happy with myself.
Okay.
I really hope that comes back. If anybody watches this and they either have the stained glass eagle or they know who has it, please reach out to me. I'll get you a very adequate replacement. That's a special disc. So, yeah,
Oh
but
man.
live by the sword, die by the sword, man. That's how you got to play, and it sucks because I wouldn't say they don't make them like they used to, but the plastic's a little different. The mold has changed through the 15, 20 years. So
Mhm.
I just love the feel of those. So, but again, live by the sword, die by the sword. You can't be scared to throw something. I mean, when it all boils down to it, it's just a piece of plastic, and I'll get another one.
Yeah. One of the coolest, or not actually, I don't know if coolest is the right word, but one of the most interesting things that has happened over the past, I don't know, 2 3 years is the emergence for the market for like new discs, like this fancy guy. This is those LVC Firebirds. I
Ah,
refuse to take it out of the bag, and I'm honestly scared to sell it, so I don't know what I'm doing. But how has it been watching from like I mean when I first started CE, those were like buku bucks worth a lot. Now it's probably like half, and these dang Sexton Firebirds are worth more than their weight in gold. Like,
yeah.
A, what's your take on that? Why?
I think a lot of the new players don't understand the lineage of how plastics became sought after.
Mm-hmm.
I guess the timeline of when they were made, how they were made. Obviously, if you look back in the years of Innova, right? They've switched places that they've manufactured, right? Like they were in Ontario and then they were in San Marino, and now they're in Rancho Cucamonga. So, you've got when patent numbers were still a thing. Now, a lot of the new players don't know that really Innova and Discraft and maybe Lightning had a hold on the game for a long time because they owned the patents
Mm-hmm.
to these deals. When the patents ran out, you had players like Latitude came in and started making discs, and then you had these other companies that could basically mimic these flying discs and make their own molds and sell them. So a lot of the new players, they don't know that. They don't understand why an 11-time eagle is why it is. Now, an 11-time eagle is anywhere from 2000 and I believe 2 to 2006
Okay.
until Kenny won his 12th world title. So you have different runs of an 11 time. Now you have 4 years where that disc was in production. 10 times were made what 2000 2001. Kenny won in 2000 and 2002, I believe. So
Gotcha.
from anywhere from 2000 2002 where it was 10 times. Prior to that was 9 times. And he won his ninth in 1998. So 98 to 2000 was the 9 times. So it kind of puts a timestamp on it. I think a lot
Sure.
of the new players don't understand how that timestamp works. And so you've seen those. And also, the discs are beginning to bleed. Now, a lot of the oils are starting to secrete out of the plastic. So you're having some break. You're having some discs that are really oily because they were in a hot, temperate
Mm-hmm.
climate, just depending on how they were stored, kind of gives it its condition. Now, the people that trade online, they know, like, 6 out of 10, 8 out of 10, whatever. Like they all have a different condition. Some runs are different than others. So
Yeah.
it actually is quite complex.
Yeah, it sounds like it. But I will say though, I mean, at least your money disc isn't like the 2015 Sexton Firebirds. It's like, okay, you're the value, like you can actually probably accumulate your old Eagles easier now, maybe than maybe 5 or 6 years ago. Is that the case, or is that not true? Just because there's limited quantity.
That's totally true. Um, I've been able to allocate a good amount. I've got at least a dozen really good old Eagles that are in the back stock.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it was somebody that I saw online that was selling them, some people have come up to me and say, "Hey, I know you throw these. I don't throw them. Go ahead." Um,
Thanks.
because back in the day, you were either a T-bird guy or an Eagle guy, and
Mm.
if you were a T-bird thrower, you had an eagle or two sitting around, but you didn't throw it. So now
Mm-hmm.
they're sitting there 15 years later, like, I don't know what I'm gonna do with this thing. So, um, yeah, I mean, I've got the Calvin run of Eagles. That's the 2015 Champion editions.
Mm.
I've got a nice stack of 8 or 9. My buddy Henry, who works at the factory in Innova, he pulled
Mm-hmm.
those aside for me right when they came out. Said, "Hey, you're gonna want these," and now they're very, very sought after. Like I didn't know at the time. It's a great run of Eagle. So got one of those in the bag. But yeah, I mean, if you're throwing a 15 Tour Series Sexton Firebird, yeah, you're hurting if you lose it. Like those just don't come around, and they only run limited quantities. So
Mm-hmm.
there's only so many you can get.
No, 100%. Kind of couple questions to round this thing out. One, and this is something that I'm, curious of really of all the professional athletes. We go around to these towns every year, and you've been to Emporia 100,000 million times. It feels like at this point,
Uh,
like, how do you stay motivated? You climbed the hill. You won Worlds in 2018, and I imagine that's what you were building towards. But like at this point, what gives you the juice to keep doing this?
oh, there's a few different things. Number one, the fans. I mean, there's something special about going to a new town that you've never been to and showing up at a course and just soaking up some of that love. I mean, it's definitely the number one benefactor these days is to go and see the people,
Mm-hmm.
and have the stories. I've been involved for so long that it's kind of morphed. My life has changed dramatically in the last 3 years, just as far as um, the amount of grinding that I've been putting in. I mean, I was on tour for 300 days a year. Oh, I thought this guy had a Discraft hat on. That's so funny. I was on tour for 300 days a year, but I wasn't how do you say, I wasn't as focused in each individual day as I am now. My time I feel like has become a little bit more valuable to me. So I've been trying to really, just bust my. It's a catalyst to me being able to meet the local players and offer them some good products, come and enjoy some of the disc golf culture. So I mean that's a big motivation, and I think more than anything now is to just prove it to myself. Winning the world championship really got me over the hump where I don't have to prove it to anybody about what my skill levels are. Like if I'm playing really good, I know that I'll have an opportunity to do well at events. But it was nice to cap that off, especially after European Open 2017, where I led the tournament the whole time and then I end up losing on the last hole. So that was kind of one of those moments where the pressure really started to it was enhanced considerably the next year. I mean, I was on like pins and needles, like everywhere I went, like
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna get this done. I'm gonna do it. So I think that's just the drive that I've always had. But once I got that close, I felt like I could taste it, and I won't say I gave it away. Macbeth played really well to win that tournament. You get that close and you're in the lead the whole time in front of a crowd that big. I just started to fiend for that moment.
All right, so last question before I get you out of here, though. I know you got to get a couple rounds in over at Daylaw. Is what's your favorite ace? Like the ace that sticks out in your memory the most throughout your career?
Whew. Oh man. I mean, I don't think anything will be able to top the roller race. That was just something magical. I don't understand how it all happened. You know, I've had some incredible aces. I feel like every time someone wants to say, "Hey, you do this really good," or "You, you're a good putter," or "I love that video you did." I don't think a lot of people know that I've got the longest ace on the pro tour. That was another really huge one. 476 ball field hole, number 5 at
Oh,
Ledgestone, Eureka Temp.
yep.
Uh, that was an incredible ace. I mean, that was one of the best aces I've ever had. I had the wind drift of the gods that just kept it in the air and it went in. Um, I finally aced hole 5 at Maple Hill about a month later. That was an
Mm-hmm.
ace that since the day I walked on that course, I said, I'm going to ace this hole one day. And I did it on the right day. That was the ace that put me on the Sports Center, which was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think it's not the best ace I've got. It's the one that got away. Now, for all the viewers, thank you so much for tuning in. Go and look up the King of the Lake video 2010.
Mm.
Uh, King of the Lake playoff 2010. This was after 99 holes. Jerry Eshelman and I went into a playoff, and you've just got to watch that video. I won't say anymore.
Man, okay. Well, I know what I'm doing the second I exit this interview, as I'm going to YouTube and looking it up right now. But I want to give you a chance, before we get out of here, to say anything to the fans, man. The Barsbarians, anybody out there that's pulling for Mr. Gregg Barsby.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Thanks for the opportunity. I love coming out and seeing you guys. I'm looking forward to being on the road through the world. So then I'll get a little break at my new home in Texas. And then I'll be back on the road and playing Des Moines, Mad City. I'll be at D-Glow and then the Preserve and then Ledgestone. So those 5 in a row. And then I'll be hosting some battles after that. I'll be on the East Coast. So thank you guys all so much for the support. Thank you for anybody that's come to my website and picked up, koozies, hats, tour support over at greggbarsby.com. You guys are the best. Obviously, huge thank you to my sponsors, Upper Park, for having me on today in my lovely van. Here I am in my home away from home. Innova Champion. I'm grateful for their support. Keep an eye out for the tour series that's coming out soon. Thank you to my lovely girlfriend who does so much for me, Casey.
Mm-hmm.
I love you. You're awesome. And obviously my family and friends for all the years of support. Can't wait to be on the road. And, my game's been slowly coming along. I'm looking forward to having a good run at the Worlds this year. We're back in the mountains. So,
Mm-hmm.
don't count me out. Don't count me out yet. I'm going to make a run at it. I will be in Ogden. So.
Hey, if there's nothing I know more, it's that Barsby is gonna be there at the biggest moments, man. You're always stepping it up. You may have a tournament where you're not maybe in the spotlight, but come Worlds, come USDGC, come those big time events, we all know that Barsby is gonna be there, in the mix at least at some point. So, hey, thanks for your time. Seriously, I appreciate it. Thanks to everyone that stuck through the choppy internet at times. But this has been a great conversation. Honestly, Gregg, I had a ton of fun, and I really hope we can do it again soon. For all of you at home, again, thanks for watching. Stay tuned to Upper Park for Ask Upper Park, episode 4.